Hey everyone, welcome back. My name's Dustin Christ, and today we are going to do a game discussion, and we're going to talk about this game right here. Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel 2, brought to us by those wonderful knuckleheads at Falcom and Xseed. And this is a continuation of course, Trails of Cold Steel 1 that came out a little earlier in the year. And the whole Cold Steel series is part of a much larger series that fits in with like Trails in the Sky, and then there's a couple of other games in the series that were over in Japan that weren't released over here. But they are working on fan translation of those games, so we should get them sometime here shortly. But anyway, it takes place in the same world as Trails in the Sky, and a different kingdom, however. And this game is a continuation of the wonderful story of Trails of Cold Steel 1. Now, I absolutely loved Trails of Cold Steel 1. I thought it was a fantastic game. It got a little bogged down in the whole school aspect for me. And the great thing about Cold Steel 2 is it takes everything that I loved about the first game, and then it gets rid of the entire school setting. This is kind of like Deathly Hallows for the Cold Steel series, where the school is kind of, spoilers, kind of taken over, and basically you're kind of fighting to take it back. And so there's none of the school stuff to really kind of break it down. I don't know what it is about Japan and loving to set their games in schools. Maybe it's to appeal to the kids. But for me, that was like the worst part of like the Persona games. It's kind of what's keeping me from playing Valkyria Chronicles 2. And then in Cold Steel 1, while Cold Steel 1 was still an awesome game, I felt that the whole school aspect kind of drug it down a little bit. And I'm not too keen on setting through classwork in my video games. But anyway, Cold Steel 2 is just an out-and-out barn burner of a journey. And I think my friend Senkai from Accent on Gamers said it best when he was talking about it, how it feels like back in the day with like a Super Nintendo RPG where you're given an airship and you're basically given free reign to do what you want in the game and kind of tackle the game however you want. I mean, there's a certain linearity to the game, but at the same time, you can pick and choose how you want to approach the different things you can do in this game. If you guys have never, ever played a Trails of game, you know, it might be a little... Oh, no, it's not difficult because Trails in the Sky is on Steam and it's on PSN to download. I highly recommend playing those games. They're fantastic games. But if you've never played a Trails of game, the Cold Steel games are a good place to start. It takes everything great about the combat from the Trails in the Sky games and just sort of updates it, gives it a beautiful new coat of paint. And it's a really lengthy, good quest as well. You can also get these games on the PS3. So if you don't want to play it on the Vita, it's also available on the PS3. I can't remember if it's on PS4 or not. I don't think so. I think they were released on the PS3 as well. But yeah, I guess I don't want to talk too much about the storyline in this game because it would kind of give spoilers to the first game if you haven't played it. But it picks up right where the first game left off. And it's sort of you picking up the pieces after that, you know, cliffhanger, punch in the gut of an ending. The weird thing about this one, because we already know that there's going to be a Trails of Cold Steel 3. It really kind of felt like this game kind of tied up all the loose ends. I mean, there's still some loose ends out there, but in terms of like the character development and character motivations, everything seems to be kind of tied up by the end. So I don't know exactly where they're going to go with the third game. There is a lengthy epilogue chapter on this game. And after making it through that final dungeon and beating the final boss and seeing sort of the ending for those characters, the epilogue felt a little tacked on. I would say it's about 5 hours extra length. There's this whole thing with these other characters that come in from other Trails of games, and it kind of feels a little tacked on. And then when you get back to your normal characters in the storyline, it feels a little anticlimactic. It feels a little bit like, I don't want to say Return of the King, because I felt like Return of the King kept its momentum up to the very end. But I know a lot of people didn't like how Return of the King had several endings. And this one kind of feels like that. It feels like it has several endings. And by the time you get to the end, I was a little frustrated with it by the time I got to the end, to be honest with you, because I was ready to be done. I thought I was done, and then I had this lengthy epilogue thing to do, and I wanted to see the game through to the end. And it actually took me a whole nother day to finish the game. When I initially made my "I'm done with Trails of Cold Steel" announcement to some of my friends, and then I got to the epilogue chapter and I was like, oh, this is going to take a while. So it actually took a whole nother day to finish the game. But, that's just a minor little gripe. I wasn't ready for it, and it kind of caught me the wrong way. It's not a bad thing against the game. And sort of my not liking the epilogue of it might have been my bias, because I thought I was done with the game, and sort of my, I don't want to say disgust, but sort of my just annoyance that it wasn't over, because I was ready for it to be over. I felt good about it being over, and then it wasn't. But anyway, great storyline, great characters. I really love the development, especially you especially get to see a lot more interesting sort of side stories to these people and get a little bit more of their motivation, especially some of the characters that were left vague in the first game. You really sort of get a sense of what they're all about in this game, and that's the great thing about RPGs, is it gives you this set of characters, and you go through this journey with them, and you watch them grow and develop, and then by the end of it, you feel really good about where they are and how things have gone. There is a little bit of the storyline in this that goes a little off the rails, but it's nothing out of the ordinary for, JRPG tropes. So, the first game felt pretty realistic until sort of the end, and then this game kind of goes off on this whole like mech made magic, calamity type thing that Falcom seems to always put in their games. It fits really well with Ys for some reason, but I don't know. The Trails of games feel like a much more realistic world in some respects. So it sort of creates a little bit of a discord for me, but it's nothing that threw me completely out of the game. It's a JRPG. This stuff's going to happen. So when it finally showed up, I was like, there's the big, magic-based world calamity. That's what we need. It's never going to be just a two armies duking it out and that sort of thing. There's always going to be this big world-ending magic calamity that you have to fight. But anyway, yeah, I really do I enjoy this series. I really enjoy Falcom RPGs. They're really knocking it out of the park, where other JRPG companies might be faltering a little bit. I haven't played Final Fantasy 15 yet, so I don't know. But I feel like whenever I get a Falcom RPG, I know it's going to be really good, and this one did not let me down. The combat is pretty much the same. I can't remember if the overdrive thing was in the first game or not. That's just my brain going blank. But there is this really cool system where you can overdrive two characters and basically build up your brave meter to perform your big combos that you can perform your entire party with. That's a really nice thing. It keeps the combat sort of fresh, and it really gives you this sense of empowerment, because so many of these sequel RPGs kind of reset your characters to zero in a way. But this one, it really feels like, your characters were badasses at the end of the first game, and they're kind of still badasses in the beginning of this game, and they just get to be more badass by the end of it. And it's that same Trails of mix of sort of a strategy and placement of your characters, and RPG, attack, defend, that kind of stuff. So it's kind of this weird hybrid of a normal RPG and sort of a tactical RPG. Because it does kind of, where your characters are positioned on the grid, does kind of affect how you approach battles and stuff. Not too much to where it like ruins it, but just enough that it gives it like a nice flavor to the combat. The whole quest system is done in actually a very cool way, and a much more realistic way than the first game. Like the first game, you had these field studies you had to go on, and then like you'd come back and the principal would give you this weird mission to do in this old schoolhouse, and it always felt a little disjointed in the first game. You're like, okay, I understand I have to do these quests. And in the Trails in the Sky games, you had the Bracer Guild giving you these quests, and it made sense that the Bracers were trying to help the world out and try to, you know, do things for people, and that's why you got the quests. And then in the first game, it kept that mechanic, but it didn't feel as integrated into the story as well. Well, this one, it feels a lot more integrated because the world has gone to hell, and it's up to your little ragtag group of kids to sort of fix what's going on. So to get these quests to sort of help these different towns out, it really does feel more integrated into the game, and I felt it did a better job. I mean, if you've played these Trails of games, you kind of know how it's all going to go, but it's nice to see them sort of weave it into the story a little bit better than I thought Trails of Cold Steel 1 did. Graphics, I mean, by now in the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One's life cycle, these graphics are not going to really blow you away, but it is an amazingly good looking RPG. I guess there is a little bit of a performance issue on the Vita version as opposed to the console version. And I've watched some videos of the console version. The combat is a lot quicker, and basically anytime there's these big special effects going on, there's a lot of slowdown and things like that. It wasn't detrimental to the game, but it can be detrimental to, say, your enjoyment of the cutscenes and things like that. So that's something to take into account. But I played the Vita version, and because these are long games. This is a 70-hour RPG here. I would say minimum. I wasn't doing a lot of... I mean, I did all the quests that I found, and the quests that were given to me, but I didn't do a lot of grinding or anything like that. So, I mean, I would say 60-hour minimum RPG, easy. But it took me about 70. So I prefer to play these on a portable system. So that's why I picked the Vita. But, you know, for you guys, you might want to play on the big screen and on a console that can handle all the special effects and things going on. But graphically, I thought the game was great looking. I'm not a huge graphics whore, so it's not a big deal to me if it doesn't look that great. But it did look great, and I did really enjoy the presentation of the game. The music, of course, the music's amazing. It's a Falcom RPG. What, are you kidding me? Falcom pumps out some of the best music out there. I mean, just go back and listen to some of the East soundtracks. Listen to the Trails in the Sky soundtrack. I mean, the Trails in the Sky, that battle theme from Trails in the Sky first chapter, it still might be one of my favorite battle themes of all time. It's very jazzy, but it just gets you pumped for battle. And a lot of the music in here is just as good. The voice acting, really good, really believable voice acting. I mean, there's some anime high-pitched voices in this, but for the most part, it feels very natural. You know, with these games, you're always going to get those sort of anime trope, over-the-top voices. It's kind of, you know, it's part and parcel to the genre. So if it was missing, it wouldn't feel quite the same, I guess. But sometimes those squeaky voices get a little annoying. But there's not too much in here that really grates on the nerves, to be honest with you. Really, overall, just a fantastic game. If you guys haven't played these and you're a fan of JRPGs, you need to get out there and play these. They're some of the best RPGs, and I wonder if they really are sliding under the radar. Because, I mean, a lot of my friends really enjoy these games, so I feel like I'm kind of in an echo chamber where everyone knows about Trails of Cold Steel and Trails in the Sky, and just Falcom in general, and Ys and things like that. And it's easy to get into that bubble with YouTube and Facebook, and feel like, well, shit, everyone knows about these games. But in case you don't, these are fantastic RPGs, some of the best out there, and really, it does kind of feel like playing those old school games again, just in a new presentation, new graphical presentation, new coat of paint, if you will. Really just a fantastic game, hands down. Go out there and get it. So anyway, guys, that's it for Trails of Cold Steel 2. I'm really looking forward to Trails of Cold Steel 3. However, that is going to be a PS4 exclusive. So hopefully they do some sort of cross save that I can move my save from the Vita version to the PS4 version. That would be awesome. Falcom, Xseed, whoever's in charge of doing that, do it. And that's it for this game. I cannot wait for part 3 to come just to see what the hell they do. So anyway, guys, that's it for this video. I want to thank you so much for watching. Take care. I'll see you next time.